Hello and welcome back to the Digital Mobsters channel. I'm Ben. I know y'all haven't heard from me in a while, but I'm back and I'm ready to go over some Royal Knights. This will be a deck list video. I'm gonna try to keep it on the shorter side, so I might not explain every effect down to the T, but I'll try to give a good gist of like why the card's included, what it does. But I'm really trying to keep this video under 20 minutes if I can. I love to yap. I love to talk about the cards. I love to talk about the deck, but I want to also honor your guys' time. So hopefully we can do this relatively quickly and we can bang this deck list out real quick. So we're going to go into the main boy that makes this deck run, and that's Kingdrasil. If you've ever played this deck or 7th Grade Demon Lords, kind of similar in certain ways, but this guy right here allows this deck to go burr. Essentially, he allows you to reduce the play cost of your Royal Knights Digimon when you play them from hand for 4, and then an additional 1 for every card in its Digivolution sources. He's going to stay in your breeding area and basically allow you to play out your Royal Knights cards very cheaply. And then you have some little tricks and things here and there that allow you to get more cards slotted underneath him more efficiently than just doing it every turn. But essentially, your start will look like you'll hatch Kingdrasil, and then your first turn will look something like this. You'll slot a second Kingdrasil underneath him, and then you'll choose to play out something, and then the next turn that will get slotted underneath. But basically, Kingdrasil allows this deck to kind of do what this deck wants to do, and then so does Omnimon. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So level 3s, we're running the new Omekamon at 3. So we have 3 of the new Omekamon here. Blocker, on play, if you have 1 or fewer security cards, you can Digivolve into Omnimon X for free, ignoring Digivolution requirements. On deletion, he slots underneath Kingdrasil. Just really nice card. Blocker, stays on board, doesn't get sucked up unless he's deleted. Allows you to chip, allows you to do a bunch of stuff. And then he also has a breeding inheritable that if your security stack is removed from on your opponent's turn, you can tap the Kingdrasil that he's sitting under to then play him out for free. So if you have 2 security, your opponent swings, knocks you down to 1, you tap Kingdrasil, play out on Mechamon, then Digivolve into Omnimon X, and you get the gist. We're playing 3 of the old Omekamon. That one, if you don't know, draw 1 on play, and then on deletion, he basically has the purge effect, which allows you to slot a Royal Knight Digimon on 1 Royal Knight Digimon underneath your Kingdrasil when he's deleted. But they both have jamming, so you'll almost never use their on deletions. Not seriously, but they just never seem to die when you swing with them. Sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes that's a curse. This is the BT13 Magnamon. People who have played Armor, people who have played Royal Knights know this card pretty well. He's in like pretty much every Royal Knight list. Just blocker, and then draws 1 when he gets sucked underneath. Anytime he leaves the battlefield, essentially, he allows you to draw 1. Next, we have our level 6s. These are going to be primarily our Royal Knight Digimon that we're going to be playing out using Kingdrasil. So we have Jesmon. This is the BT20 Jesmon. When he plays out, you can play a token that has Reboot, Blocker, and Decoy for red and black. And then his Your Turn effect triggers when you play out that token. But basically, his Your Turn is any time you would play another Digimon. Once per turn, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with AKDP or less. Really useful effect. Better than the old Jesmon if you don't have anything else on board. Kind of worse than the old Jesmon if you have it like for the purge effect, but like I still think he's just better and is going to be more useful in more contexts. So we run 2 of him because you like seeing him. All Force Vidramon, great card. Bounce is really effective in removing stuff from board in the current meta, and will probably continue to be good at doing it moving forward. He basically sees himself when he plays out, which then allows you to use his when on play to strip the top 2 cards of an opponent's Digimon's Digivolution sources, and then it's your turn is you bounce something that to hand that doesn't have Digivolution sources. So this is a good way to like for cheap quick removal. Next we have Leopardmon. Leopardmon, very useful for just cheating out your Royal Knights and your Aces. Um, well, your Royal Knights generally, for a little bit cheaper. He reduces his main effect reduces the play cost of a Royal Knight Digimon by 4. So the nice thing about him is even though Purge prevents you from using on play effects, his effect is a main effect. So you can purge him out and still use his main effect to reduce something by 4, which is nice. His alterns effect is just if you play a Digimon, he gives all your Royal Knights blocker for the turn. So that's pretty good. Next, we have Dynasmon. This is a basic search Digimon. You reveal top 4. You pick 2 cards from among those 4 that have Royal Knights in their trait, and then the rest go to trash. And then if you were to play another Digimon with the Royal Knights trait while he's on the board, you get to delete all of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. Pretty good card. Mainly, you just play him for the search. I run 2 of him because you have other ways of searching in the current version of the deck. So he just feels like you don't need as many of him anymore. Lord Nightmon. This is the new Lord Nightmon. This guy just allows you to play a level 4 Digimon from your trash on play. So you can play out your Magnamons, you can play out your Omekamons. Just a really useful card for just like getting your level 4s back. And it's really nice because your level 4s are pretty useful in this deck. So, and even if you were going to play like Sister Mont Blanc, for example, or not, or yeah, level 4 lower. Yeah, so you could play out a Sister Mont Blanc if you played it in the deck. But usually you're going to use this to play out to cheat out a new Omekamon if you don't have one in hand, but you have one in trash and you want to use its effect. You can play Lord Nightmon to play Omekamon for free from trash to then go into Omnimon X. Pretty good combo. Main reason the deck is good right now, or one of them. Next, we have Gallantmon. This is BT13 Gallantmon. I think most people have seen him by now, but if you haven't, he's Rush. And then he has an on play when digivolving and when attacking effect that just allows you to attempt to delete a 6k DP or lower Digimon. And if you don't delete anything that's 6k DP or lower, he attempts to delete something that's 13k DP or more. So you mainly play him for the rush, but the deletion effect is nice. And he can reduce his own play cost. If you have no other Digimon on the board, that's important. There can't be any other Digimon on your side of the board. If that's the case, for every 5 total cards in both you and your opponent's trash, he reduces his play cost by 2. So you can get him out really cheap if you don't have another Royal Knight on board or if you don't have another Digimon on board. You can play him out fairly cheap and then delete some of your opponent's Digimon. Pretty nice card. Kentoros, a lot of people don't run this card. I like this card. It combos really well with the new Alphamon, and we'll talk about that in a second. But basically, this Kentoros on play, if you have 6 or fewer total security cards between you and your opponent, you'll gain 3 memory, and then you have to reveal a card in your hand. If it's yellow, you can put it to the top of your security. If it's not yellow, you just return it to hand. But that part's mandatory, so you have to do it. The main reason you play him, though, is for the secondary when attacking effect, which essentially combos really well with Alphamon's all turns effect. He, when attacking, Kentorosmon can trash the top card of your security to then allow you to unsuspend him and give one of your opponent's Digimon minus 7k DP. That combos really well with Alphamon because Alphamon says all turns when a security stack is removed from one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 8k DP for the turn, which means you can play Alphamon for a reduced play cost through King Drasil, then purge a Kentorosmon from underneath your King Drasil, for example, swing with the Kentoros because it has Rush, use its one attacking to trash one of your own security, and then give minus 7k and minus 8k to the same Digimon to do up to minus 15, or you could do it to different Digimon. But it's a really nice way to clear board if you can get them both out on the board at the same time. Next, like we just talked about, Alphamon, basically a recovery bot, and then the all turns is like the main reason you play Alphamon. He gives some protection to Oryukin mode or you can ace. Um, if you digivolve or you can ace on top of him, but like you don't really play him for that. You play him mainly for the fact that on play he just recovers one, and then all turns you get to minus 8k from one of your opponent's Digimon if they swing into your security. Pretty good card for those two reasons. Sorry. And then he also has barrier, but we don't really play him for the barrier. And then lastly, we have Gankumon. Gankumon is a blocker, 13k DP, and then he is kind of like a different version of Purge. He allows you to pull a Royal Knight card out from underneath your Kingdrasil. Doesn't give it rush, and he can't pull out Omnimon or Gankumon, but you can just pull something out. A good example would be like, or you can or you can ace. If this is under your Kingdrasil, you can use Gankumon on play to like play out your, or you can ace to then trigger its on play to then minus 15k DP from something. Pretty good card. Speak of the devil, we'll talk about our aces now. So we play 2, or you can ace. Um, just has a really good on play, minus 15k DP straight up. Really good. All turns. Whenever a security stack is removed from, once per turn, you can gain 3 memory, which is really nice. This also combos well with Kentoros because you can use Kentoros. You can play this guy out for cheap, purge out Kentoros, swing with Kentoros, trash the security card, gain 3 memory off of Alphamon or Yukin, and then minus 7k DP from the Kentoros. And it's pretty nice. The only negative to Oryukin really is that, well, there's two. It's that he's an ace. That's pretty obvious. So overflow's a thing. And then you can't blast Digivolve into Oryukin. That is not a problem, however, for the next two aces we have. We have 2 Jessamon GX ace. So this one can be blast Digivolved into. So on top of any red or black level 6, you can go into Jessamon GX on your opponent's turn. And that Digivolution is not counted for under Kingdrasil's effect. So you can blast Digivolve all you want on your opponent's turn. Jessamon GX, when Digivolving and on play, and also when attacking, allows you to slot a Royal Knight Digimon underneath him to then delete something from hand or trash, to then delete something that has equal to or less than DP than him. So really good card for deleting. And then the when attacking, he's a double swinger essentially, so he can swing once, unsuspend himself when attacking. And then if he has 2 or more Royal Knights cards under, or for every 2 Royal Knight Digimon underneath him, he trashes top card of your opponent's security. So his when attacking allows you, and on play allows you to slot something underneath him. That's once per turn though. And then his when attacking allows you to trash top card for every 2 Royal Knight trait Digimon underneath him, as well as unsuspend. So just a really good card. Can finish games off a lot quicker than if you don't have them. Lastly, we have Gallantmon Crimson mode. Ace. This card's not a Royal Knight Digimon, but just has a really good effect, so it's hard to not play him. On play, when Digivolving, delete up to 15k DP Digimon total worth of Digimon from your opponent's board, which is really good. And when attacking, for every 10 total cards in both players' trash, you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Another good safe ender. So like if your opponent only has like 2 or 3 security left, you can go into this guy, delete part of their board, and then like potentially trash 1, 2, 3 security cards. It's a really nice way to end a game quickly. All right, next we have our like regular level 7s that aren't aces. We have Omnimon X. This card we kind of talked about a little bit when we talked about Omekamon and Lord Nightmon. Basically, there's a big body with some good keywords. It has raid, piercing, and blocker. Can go on top of Omnimon for 2, or can Digivolve on top of Omekamon using Omekamon's on play effect. Its on play when Digivolving is if you have an Omnimon or X antibody in its traits, which Omekamon counts as X antibody. You choose one of both players' Digimon. So you choose, like, for example, you get this guy out and say they have a Digimon. You would choose both this one and your opponent's Digimon, and then it would delete all other Digimon. So if you play this guy out and you have a bunch of other Digimon on your board, you probably don't want to do that right away because you'll delete your own board. essentially. And then you get to bounce. And then a separate effect from that is you then return one of your opponent's Digimon from the bottom of the deck. So even if you don't have Omnimon or X Antibody underneath him, he still gets the bounce effect. So just remember that. So even if you can't trigger the deletion effect, the bounce effect will still trigger, and you'll still be able to bounce something to the bottom of your opponent's deck, which is still really nice. And then his end of turn is also really good. One of your Digimon gains Rush, and then for the turn, and then can attack without suspending. So he essentially can make himself swing. So even if you play him out and he doesn't have Rush, at the end of your turn, he can give himself Rush, and then can swing without suspending, which means that he stays active, which means he can still block. But it's really cool because you can give him Rush, swing with him at the end of your turn, and then if your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon, you can then raid into that Digimon, pierce through it, still get your check, and then you just cleared part of their board. So really, really good card with a lot of really good interactions in this deck. I'm debating just bumping him up to 4 altogether because I think you just want to see him. And then our last level 7 is Omnimon. This guy really doesn't need an explanation, but if you don't really know about him, he's the main boss monster of this deck technically. His on play when digivolving is you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon, or you can play one of each Royal Knight trait Digimon out from underneath your Kingdrasil with unique names. So you can play one unique Royal Knight, like one of each unique Royal Knight trait Digimon out from underneath your Yggdrasil, and then you trash your Yggdrasil, and they all gain Rush. He's basically the way you end games, but he also acts as like a nice form of like deletion if you need it. But essentially, you want to try to find him every time you're playing Royal Knights. You want to have one of him in your hand, so that way you can just go when you want to go. Next are Tamers. So this is kind of a holdover from the older lists. Marcus just allows you to pop floodgates. Not being able to reduce play cost sucks. Not being able to play by effect sucks. So Marcus is nice to help get rid of some of those floodgates for us. Cool Boy is a new addition to this deck. Very, very good card. Basically, whenever you would play a Royal Knight Digimon or Digivolve into a Royal Knight Digimon, you can suspend this Cool Boy to then draw 1, gain 1, which is really nice. And then on your opponent's turn, if Digimon with the Royal Knight's trait would leave the battle area, you can play an Omekamon from your hand without paying the cost. It's a really nice way to just cheat out an Omekamon. And so just a really good card altogether. Another thing I'll mention is Marcus, if you don't know it, is a memory setter. So just really nice to like just constantly have 3 memory. All right. Lastly, we'll go over the option cards we have in the deck. Queen Device. This card's really good for getting rid of floodgates. It's the main reason I play it. You don't need to adhere to color requirements as long as you don't already have a Queen Device on board. This card prevents something from you activating its when digivolving effects, and then gives it minus 3k DP. Security effect just allows you to give 2 of your opponent's Digimon security attack minus 2. Just a good way to get rid of smaller floodgates. Fire Rocket. This card, if you have a Magnamon on board, you don't have to have a red Digimon, but a lot of your Digimon are red anyway. Basically, for 1 cost, you can give something security attack plus 1, at least as long as it has 2 or more colors, which a lot of your Royal Knights have 2 or more colors. This card can be used very efficiently. Like even with a Genkumon, if you purge this out, play this for 1, all of a sudden this Genkumon has 2 checks. Very good card for just some added aggression in the deck. I like that tech, so I'm keeping it for now. We play 3 Royal Knights of the Purge just to draw 1, slot something underneath your Kingdrasil, and then you can delay it to then pull something out of your Kingdrasil, give it Rush, but of course it can't activate on plays. Lastly, we have 3 of the Last Guardian. This is your generic kind of search option. You reveal top 3, you can add a Cool Boy and 1 card with the Royal Knight or X Antibody trait. And then you return the rest of the bottom of the deck. And then your All Turns effect will just prevent a Digimon with Omnimon in its name from leaving the battle area. And then its security effect allows you to pull an Omekamon from hand or trash and play it. So that's like pretty solid card. All in all, that's the deck list. There's a lot to go over, unlike some other like stack decks. every there's a lot of unique cards in this deck, so I'm sorry if that took longer than it should, and I'm sorry if I glazed over some explanations. If you have anything that you like want to ask about the deck or want to ask about ratios or why I chose certain things, feel free to drop it in the comments. I know we went over 20 minutes by a little bit, but I do want to talk about some cards that might not have been included that you might have been expecting to see. Um, and the main one I know people are probably wondering about is this deck list does not include Medieval Gallantmon whatsoever. The card is almost $100 per card for the base artwork. That is too much money for me to spend when the deck performs perfectly well without it. The only caveat to that would be if you're planning to go to a regional or like a major tournament of sorts and running Royal Knights, I would definitely play Medieval Gallantmon if you can. That's the one reason I would get Medieval Gallantmon. It's just right now, from like a local standpoint, I just don't feel like I need the card. Um, Next, we have a couple cards that I know are popular in deck lists right now. You have Sister Mont Blanc, kind of for the same reason I dropped the Dynasmon numbers down. Is the same reason I don't run 2 or 1 Sister Mont Blanc. I just don't think the deck needs that much more draw power, but I'm heavily considering adding this back to the list because just being able to draw 2 is really nice, and having small bodies that aren't Royal Knights that you can swing with and chip with is also really nice. So this is definitely a card to consider playing. If you don't like one of the Royal Knights I'm playing or something, you could definitely substitute it for Sister Mont Blanc, or if you just want more consistency. I just feel that between Cool Boy, Magnamon, Omekamon, and the search cards you have access to, um, you just don't need to be able to. You don't need like a bunch of searchers. Next, we have a Royal Knight. That's Craniumon. He's just really good. I just don't know if the meta needs allows for him to be played in this list. The list is so tight as it stands, and he doesn't really do anything outside of like play a very good like hard to remove blocker for a turn. That's basically it. So I just don't think he's necessary in the list anymore. Alphamon, kind of same deal with Craniumon. If the meta like moves in a direction that makes you feel like you need the um, the effect he provides, then like sure. But again, just don't think the meta's there. Um, but essentially, he just allows you to slot something Royal Knight card underneath him, and then he prevents anything 10 play cost or higher from attacking players. I just don't think he provides that much for the deck anymore. Um, the way it's currently structured. This next card, I would definitely consider playing again in the deck list, even at just a one of. I think this card's fucking ridiculous. Um, Sorry for the swear. But Crimson Blaze allows you to reduce the play cost for each of your opponent's Digimon, so you can play this card out really, really cheap. And it's just a blanket minus 6k, or not minus 6k, a blanket 6k DP deletion. So you can just wipe out a wide board, and then it prevents your opponent from playing by effect for like an entire turn. So in the mirror, it's really good, but it's also really good at clearing floodgates. It's really good at like just dealing with some other cards, decks that you might have to deal with that like to play by effect. Really nice card. Definitely will consider playing it. I always bounce around playing one of this card, so definitely a good one to consider. And then another one to just help with floodgates that you can play is Porcupamon. He's another body that can sit on board and like help you with chip swings, but he also has a really nice on play that just allows you to delete a level 3 straight up, which is really useful. It's just the deck doesn't have a lot of room, and I feel like he doesn't provide as much value as some of the other cards in the deck list. And I think having Marcus kind of means you don't necessarily need to run him. But if you, again, we are heading into a meta where I think a lot of people are going to be targeting Royal Knights as like a deck to beat. Might be worth starting to tech for floodgates more. So Porcupamon might be another addition. The only other thing I'll go over real quickly is like maybe running one more Leopardmon. I definitely think All Force and Kentoros are both cards you could remove and not necessarily feel like the deck got any worse. Um, but I like both those cards. I think they have fun interactions in the deck. Um, I have considered also adding the Last Guardian card. I just think it's hard though. I like both of these options at 3. I think I see them enough. Um, but it's kind of like one of those things where like you could very easily just bump both of these back up to 4 and it would probably be fine. Cool Boy, I think should mirror kind of like how many Omeka Mon you're playing. So I think 3 right now is good. You don't really want to see him too often. Like he kind of feels bad to see late in the game because of the fact that you have to spend 4 to play him out, and then like you don't instantly get back anything from him until the next turn. He's like much nicer as like a turn 1, turn 2 play, but still a really good card, and still really useful. So you want to see him. So I play him at 3. But yeah, that's the deck list. This is how I run Royal Knights. Hopefully the video is not too long. I'm sorry if it is. There is just a lot to go over, and I like to talk. So I apologize for that. If y'all have any questions or concerns, or just want to know a little bit more about why I chose the things I chose, or like why I run the list the way I run it, feel free to send me a message in the comments. I'm more than happy to look through stuff and answer anything that you guys might need to ask. I love this deck. I think it's a really good deck. I definitely need to invest in Medieval Gallant Mon, and I will in the near future. But I think this is a great list for those of us who don't want to invest right away. So I thank you all for watching it, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.